everyone. Welcome to the Light Gate. I hope your Monday is awesome and I hope you had an even better weekend. Tonight, we have a really great guest, somebody that I know, and I am excited for her to be here. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Roku, Facebook. We are everywhere on the radio and Roku, YouTube as well. Anyway,
We get around.
Preston, it's going to be a good night. Go for it.
Thanks, Dolly. And thank
Okay.
you all for joining us on episode 44 of The Light Gate. We have an awesome guest tonight who I will introduce in just a moment. First, I want to let you all know I am Preston Dennett, as I'm sure you all know by now, author and experiencer. And my lovely co-host is Dolly Safran, who's had experiences since before age 1, really. And fully woke up at age 14. As you all know, you can read the book Symmetry if you want to learn more. But we do have an awesome guest tonight who I will bring on shortly. But I do want to make a quick announcement, which I'm super excited about. My latest book has just been published, Not From Here, Volume 5. Super duper excited about that. Ignore the stripe. That's just a pre-publication thing. But yeah, Not From Here, Volume 5. It's going to be the last of the Not From Here series for at least a while. But super excited about it. So you guys might want to check that out if you get a chance. I would be super grateful. It's already doing pretty well on Amazon. Yee. So very happy about that. All right, so who do we have here with us tonight? Quite a few of you guys. Oh my gosh. Thank you all for joining us. Hello, Andy Two Dogs and Star Orchid and Brian Morgan. Always here. It's so awesome to see you. And who else do we got? Louise. Greetings from New Jersey, Earthlings. I think most of us are Earthlings, but I think some of us might not be. All right, who else do we got? Fun Talks all the way from Poland. That is so awesome.
Okay.
Bless you. I have no idea what you just said.
How are you?
Okay, who else do we got here? Star Orchid, did I already put that up? Who else? Just a Gen X dirtbag. Oh, and namaste. And your endless, beautiful generosity. I have such goodwill and love for you. Namaste. Thank you so much. And W. Decker. Oh my gosh, you guys. I just can't express my gratitude deeply enough for all you do to help us run this show. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And who else do we got here? Chris Teen. Hello. And Girl in the Desert. And oh my gosh, Louise. You are so very kind and generous. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have my endless gratitude, as do you too, Star Orchid 8. Oh my gosh, you guys, you just make me feel so all warm and fuzzy inside. So thank you, thank you. I really can't thank you enough, but I'm going to try. Hello, Susan. Hope you're doing well. It's so awesome to see you out there on the internet talking about your story. Susan, for those of you who don't know, is a previous guest on the Light Gate and has the biggest chapter in my book, Humanoids and High Strangeness. Another shameless plug, me as well. It's my show with Dolly. Yeah, so Susan's in that book. Hope you're doing great, Susan. Who else do we got here? Kayleen White, all the way from Southeast Australia.
Oh, cool. Wonderful.
Our guest is from Australia, too. I'm eager to find out what time it is there. I really don't know. I think it's morning. Okay, who else do we have here? Until the Sun Dies. And Blake Stanley, finally catching the live. Awesome. Very cool. We have Cindy Simpson, hello, and Insectoid, and Susan Lawrence. Wonderful to see you here, too. And Real Badger, you're always so awesome on my YouTube channel. Kim King, Hello, greetings, Becky Duncan. Oh, she loves our show, Dolly.
Aw, thank you. I
That
love you.
is Thank you so much, Becky. That's very cool. We got a good one tonight, I promise. Ruth Kleiber, hello, and Rebecca, and oh my gosh, you guys are popping in faster than I can keep up.
Woo.
Jamie Mashburn and Michael. Hi, Michael. Hope you're doing well. And Truth Seeker, and let's see, Nautical Strings, and Guardian, and well, Dolly's here too. So sorry I couldn't. And here's our guest tonight. She's here too in chat. I'm so glad that you can see chat because that always helps.
Yes.
Trent, what up? Oh, this and that. John P. Adventures. I may have already popped that up. I don't know. But
No. Yeah.
okay, well then, hello, John P. Adventures. Look at all those stars and hearts. Very cool.
No.
CT Guitar Guy, and I really better get started. Allison Carr. Oh, Rat Food. Hello, y'all. I love you, Rat Food. You're Penny Rummel. Oh, wow. So awesome to see you. Very cool. We'll buy the book later. Okay, that's awesome. All right, let's just get started because I could say hi to you guys forever, and I've already wasted like 5 minutes. And I want to get to our guest tonight because I am super excited to have her. I've been following her for a while. It's actually on her show, and so is Dolly. She does have her own YouTube channel. You can see the links in chat. But tonight, our guest is the lovely and amazing KAren Swain. She wears a lot of hats. She does a lot of really amazing light work. She's a huge bright light in this field. She's a spiritual teacher, a mentor, has had all kinds of experiences as well. She's a galactic guide, a radio podcast host, an author, an inspirational speaker. And it's KAren's mission to help enlighten others to recognize the power of their thoughts and beliefs, to live in alignment with their emotional guidance systems. She's had a lifetime of really interesting experiences. And I will just read a brief quote from her. Probably better if she tells it herself, but what the heck. As KAren writes, I've had access to exalted higher perspective all my life, which meant I was always connected to guidance from my spiritual team, something I didn't realize as a youngster, as I just called this my common sense. Sometimes I would listen, but most of the time I didn't. And I did what I thought I wanted, which ultimately led me into much mischief and emotional turmoil. Something I've explored well in this life. I've been able to read people's energy fields, know their thoughts, vibrational stance, and see their fears or dreams unfolding. I'm aware of your soul plan and communicate with your spirit guides. And she's done some amazing work in this field. She's the founder of Blissful Beings Reminders from Home Creator at Awakened by Death, Stories of Transformation. This is also actually a book. Here, I'll pop that up real quick so you guys can see it. The Awakening Soul Series, Awakened by Death, Stories of Transformation by KAren Swain and Cyrus Kirkpatrick. And what else do we have here? There's a lot, you guys. You'll have to read the whole description. But she's also the founder at Sydney Peace Day Festival. She has a growing YouTube channel, Awakening and Expanding Consciousness. She resides all the way down under in Sydney, Australia. And I could go on, but let's just bring her on. Are you ready, KAren? Here we go. All right.
Hi, KAren.
Welcome. Thank you so much, both of you. This is so much fun. I'm having fun already, and we haven't even started.
I know. When I was on your show, my cheek muscles actually got sore.
Oh, I know. Me too. It was crazy.
That's what I absolutely love about you is you're just so unbelievably positive, which gosh, this world needs. You know what I mean?
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Cracky. I'm just watching all the comments coming in, but wow, this setup is so cool. I was just talking to Dolly and Preston before about this setup. Like, look at all you guys. How awesome. I mean, this is disclosure. This is disclosure. How awesome that this syndicated radio podcasting show is going out to so many people. And we're talking about ET and UFOs. I mean, that is just so awesome. Yeah, this is disclosure.
Thank you. We love it.
Yeah, well, we have a lot to talk about tonight, but
Yes,
as I
we
told
do.
you before the show, because I don't like to blindside our guests and say, "Hey, yeah, I love hearing about people." Because I imagine when I look at a person, I can't help but see them as little kids, when we're like 4 or 5 years old, running around and just exploring the world, and it's just so fascinating to me how we all grow up into this, and we find our pathway in life.
All right.
And I'm so curious about how this all started for you. Were you having paranormal experiences? What did you think of the world? Have you seen UFOs? Have you seen ghosts? Have you had dreams which come true? I mean, how did this all start to roll out for you? Because look at where you are now. It's amazing.
Well, as you said in the bio, I hit the world running. I was in this world asking a million questions that my parents couldn't answer. So I grew up in a very secular household, no religion. The only time we went to church is for a funeral, wedding. Why else do we go to church? Marriage. Yeah, funeral, wedding. Anyway, we didn't go to church. So I'm asking my parents things like, I don't get how a baby can be born in sin and they need to be baptized. It doesn't make sense to me. Babies come, how can a baby have sin? And all these questions, existential questions, they just didn't know how to answer. And, mum would be going, I don't know, ask your father. And my father would be like, I don't know, ask your mother. And why do you ask so many questions? But then they got divorced and they hated each other. So I kind of came into a really dysfunctional family. 3 of us at this stage try to beat each other up constantly. I remember mum used to cry and say, why do I have such terrible children?
Oh my gosh.
Other people's children aren't like you. Why do you all hate each other? We were just mirroring them as kids do. They hated each other and they were beating each other up, and then we were beating each other. I was like, so she got really sick when I was an early teenager, and questions changed in me, like, why do you get people sick? How do we get happy in this life? So navigating life on planet Earth as a teenager, thinking about shoes and boys and records and music and all that stuff was going on. But underneath all that were the questions, endless questions. Then she dies when I'm around 16, and I'm asking different questions, like, where did she go? Where do you go when you die? And if we go to that place, we come from that place, what is that? Can I still communicate with her? But I'm like 16, I'm on my own. I'm navigating this world alone. Dad's, he's married another woman by this stage and he's got a baby and things. And I was asking the questions but not seeking them because I'm still sort of coping with life. But mum would come to me in dreams and tell me she wasn't dead. And in the dream, yeah, right. And, in the dream, I don't know, I'm dreaming. I'm having an astral experience. So it's a physical experience for me because I'm there in a world which is real, right? It's a real world. And I have no idea that it's different to my waking life. And I'm like, she's always in a different house or a different state, or she's always somewhere else. Like, there were clues given to me about how she wasn't here on Earth. We were somewhere else because she was always in a place that was not familiar to me. So I didn't see her in my home.
That's interesting.
And I would say to her, you're not dead? What do you mean you're not dead? What do you mean you're not dead? Where the hell are you dead? But here's the thing. The memory of that astral experience was not very clear because I wasn't really aligned with the wisdom I was being shown at the time I was having the dream. So I would wake up in the morning and I'd be like, oh, my God, it's not real. It was a nightmare. I used to think they were nightmares because I was always so pissed off with her for dying and leaving me. And then I'd be with her and I'm like, did you fake your death? Like Elvis? Did you move states? Did you just run away from us when we were kids? But yeah, and so that kept me on my path. But you know what? When you were reading the bio, I keep having this memory come back to me when we talk about, because this is basically about ETs. When we were kids, Mum was still alive. We were up at a friend's holiday house, a beach house, and there was just the 2 mothers and her kids and the 3 of us. And we had spotted a light in the sky that we couldn't identify as a plane. And so we were identifying it as a UFO, and everyone was scared. I remember all the kids started crying, and it was moving towards the city because we were out of the city. And they're like, because we've been conditioned to think that aliens, UFOs, are evil and they're going to come and eat you. You know, like that's what we do. So we're like, oh no, they're going to go and eat people in the city. And I just remember thinking, oh, this is so cool. Like, wow, this is so cool. And even though I'm under the whole conditioning of the alien phenomena being evil and, you know, dangerous, I was so excited about it. And so were my brothers. Like, we just love sci-fi, Dolly's nodding, sci-fi, everything. And so my brothers are like me. You know, we've had many incarnations on different planets. I think everyone on Earth has, really, because Earth is such a hard school.
How many brothers do you have?
I've got 2 to my mother and 1 from a brother from another mother. Dad ended up having 3 wives and 7 children. So there's 7 children. Yeah. But my older brother, who's a total skeptic, he's skeptical about everything. He's like a total ET. I tell him, like, you know, you're an ET. And he's like, yeah, right. But he's so into sci-fi. And as a kid, he used to take anything electronic apart to see how it worked, the television, the phone, the hairdryer. Like, he was really technically minded as a little kid.
My brother was the same way.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And my prove me person. Prove it to me.
Yes. Prove it to me. Prove it to me. Exactly. He married a good Catholic girl, and I said to them, you know, if you have children, you're going to, like, their children are grown up now, but I said, if you have children, you're going to christen them or baptize them. And Paul, total skeptic, my brother, says, no. And the Catholic is like, of course, we want them to be good people. And I'm messing with them. I'm saying to her, you mean to say that if you're not baptized, you're not a good person? And then, you know, that started a whole debate. But anyway, I used to do that. I used to sort of rile people up. But yeah, the scientific mind and couldn't come at religion in any way, shape or form. But married a very religious person. So I don't know, where do I go from there? There's so much to my story, Preston, and I don't want to sort of take up too much time with the story.
I do have one question. When did you realize you were psychic? When did it come together for you?
Well, I tell you what, I didn't realize I was psychic until I started doing energy healing courses, because I've had a lot of people on the show, and you have too, spoken to a lot of people who have psychic abilities. Like, we all have psychic abilities from birth, all of it. We either develop them or not, but we're all operating psychically. I think in my 20s, I read in the Seth books, Seth said, humans are all operating telepathically. We couldn't drive on our roads if we were not.
Exactly.
So it's like all of us are psychic, but when do we realize that? So I'd got married, had a baby, opened and closed a home and furniture shop, giftware shop. Done 5 years full-time of naturopathy. I was still asking questions and seeking answers. Didn't find them in retail or naturopathy or marriage or babies. But I started doing energy healing workshops. And I did an energy healing workshop where we were tuning into people and doing remote viewing, like medical intuition, looking inside their body and speaking to their spirit guides and going up and talking to God and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't think I could do any of this stuff because I thought it was for special people or different people, or, you know, gifted people. It's the conditioning, right? That's the narrative. And so I was failing at it, thinking that it had to be something different to who I am, and I couldn't do it. And then I had this gorgeous girl working with me because we were looking inside people's bodies, and she just said something to me that made me relax. I'd already been a masseuse by this stage, and I'd look inside people's bodies, but I thought that I was well-versed in anatomy. I'd done 5 years, as I said, a naturopathy course. So I'd done a lot of anatomy and physiology. I thought I was just remembering what the body looks like from books. But what I was actually doing was looking inside people's bodies. And people used to say, how do you know where my pain is? You go exactly to where my pain is. And I'm like, well, I don't know. It's, you know, none of this, we're not educated. None of this is, I'm so like hoping that institutions will educate us about our psychic ability and all this stuff in schools and in universities, because this is, you know, such a common story with many people that they have psychic abilities, they don't know what it is or how to operate it. And so when I realized that what I was being taught in this healing workshop was what I'd been doing all my life, that's when I woke up to it, Dolly. That's like,
Okay.
I was in my 30s at that stage. Like, I'd navigated life to my mid to late 30s and didn't even know I was psychic. Thought
Wow.
it was for other people. Isn't that amazing? And
Yeah, it is.
I reckon
God, you
a lot
did.
of it. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree that we all have these abilities, because my dad, who was an arch skeptic and lamented that I was involved in UFOs and psychic stuff, I asked him one day, have you never had anything? He said, well, I do see a dark aura around people before they pass away. I'm like, well, Dad, what? And he was so psychic, and he didn't believe it for a second. And just real quick, the best story I have of that, I may have said this on the show, but it's just so funny to me. We were on the freeway, and I was in the passenger seat. He's in the front seat, and he says, Preston, we got behind this truck. He says, you never want to follow a truck because they spit up gravel and it can crack your windshield. And so he gets out from behind the truck, and this car zooms up in front of us, takes off, and spits a piece of gravel and breaks the windshield.
Wow.
And, I mean, how often have you broken your windshield with a piece of gravel on the road? Probably never, right? But he said it instantly before it happened. And I looked at him, and he's like, it's a coincidence. I'm like, Dad, I don't think so. Because this happened to him. He's still a skeptic. So it's awesome that you woke up to it, because some people just never do.
Well, we deny it all the time. We deny that we're getting messages from our guides, that we just deny, we write it off as wishful thinking, as imagination, as coincidence. And I think that's all part of us unraveling the social conditioning. Like, we're so under this, from the moment we hit this planet, we're just conditioned to think in a certain way, and we take on these thought forms, and we take on these ideas and beliefs that this is who we are and this is what's available to humanity. But as you both know, we're in a time of great shift where all that's unraveling. And, I so honor what you're doing with your show, because this is all part of the unraveling, putting stories on, out there to such a large audience.
There's a huge psychic awakening. All the people, young kids are just getting more and more psychic, and
huge
spiritual knowledge that was truly only, it was suppressed and taught only in secret schools throughout the Middle Ages. It's now available all over the internet. How to meditate and how to do astral projection and healing and all this stuff that you couldn't get access to.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a nephew who was born on 9/11. He was born the day the towers came down. And I remember saying, because both my brothers are quite skeptical. They're a little less now, but of who I am and what I do. And the younger brother was the one that had this baby. And I remember, like, it's an auspicious time to come into the planet. I knew that when you're coming into the planet on that day, you're coming in for a reason. And I remember saying to my brother something really sort of mainstream. I said, well, we won't forget his birthday, not like, wow, you're, but I said to them, he's amazing. He's really psychic, this kid. Like, how old is he now? 21. It's been 21 years. Yes. He's amazing. But they're not into this whole psychic thing. And they're like, yeah. But I remember my sister-in-law saying, when he was a little toddler, they were away and they were walking down a street he'd never been to. And he said, Mummy, can we go to the cafe restaurant? And she said, that's a strange thing for a kid to say, the cafe restaurant. Like, this is before he could read. And they turned the corner and there was a sign and it said, cafe restaurant. And she's like, huh? So, and she noticed these things, that this kid knew stuff that he couldn't know. Like, he's like, when's the truck coming? Like the garbage truck. And she said, oh, the trucks don't come on this day, or they don't come down this street. And then sure enough, here comes the garbage truck. Yay! Like, he just knew all this stuff. And, now he's a 21-year-old and he's an artist. He was completely dyslexic. He did not do 3D school. He just didn't do 3D school. But he is the most incredibly psychic person, with parents who don't nurture that part of him. They nurture his creativity, but not his psychic awareness. And I turned up at one of his exhibitions once, and he was with a friend, and he goes, this is my Auntie Karen, who thinks I'm an alien here to save the world. And I'm like, yep. So I wonder when he's going to get a clue of who he is, because he just thinks he's stupid. Like, he's a great artist, but I'm stupid because he couldn't do 3D, couldn't learn to read or write. Like, he just didn't do it.
No,
But
we all have
yeah,
our life path, you know,
right.
and you know it when you're on the right path because the doors open and the red carpet rolls up before you and the
Right.
synchronicities start happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, this is
Yeah.
maybe this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question, Karen. So you started doing this spiritual medical healing. What caused you to start that? I mean, how did this all begin?
Well, when I did the healing courses, I'd already done 5 years full time as naturopathy, as I said, and then I opened and closed a homewares and furniture shop because I didn't see anything I thought was going to change the world. Still seeking, asking questions, looking for answers. And when I started doing the energy healing courses, I was already massaging at that point to make a living. I used to be a mobile masseuse. And to put myself through naturopathy school, I worked in the film industry, catering and doing all sorts of things like making clothes and doing makeup and doing sets, but mostly catering, mostly in the back of a catering truck, in a hot, sweat, smelly catering truck. But anyway, so I knew a lot of people in the film industry.
Cooking?
It was fun. It was fun, except for when it's 54 degrees inside the truck. That's all. Anyway, but I knew a lot. Yeah, pretty hot.
I don't know what that is Fahrenheit.
I don't know.
It's like being in an oven. But anyway, so I knew a lot of people in the film industry, and they used to get, like when Hollywood movie stars would come out here to make movies, I used to go and massage them in hotels. And what I noticed is I started to get a lot of information about people, and I freaked a lot of people out. There was one guy out here that was quite a well-known actor. He was in, the Desperate Wives, some show on television about wives. He was one of the husbands, and he ordered a massage, and I'm telling him all this stuff. And I remember looking at his face when I finished massaging him. He's just staring at me like, and I'm thinking, maybe I should change my name. Not my name, but what I call myself. Like masseuse is just not cutting it anymore because there's so much more going on than a massage. And I was massaging another Hollywood movie star, very famous person who was born into a famous family. And that was the first channeling experience I had. She had a photograph of a guru in a frame on the chest of drawers in the bedroom where I was massaging her in the hotel room. And I remember massaging her and looking at this photograph of this long-haired dark Indian with beads around his neck, thinking, what is all this Indian guru stuff about, right? That's the question I asked. And my head started to expand. Like, it felt physical. It felt like my head was expanding physically. It was just wild. And I'm massaging this woman, and this experience is happening to me, and I felt like my ears were touching the walls. And I'm trying to be as professional as possible, and this experience is, and then I start channeling. I told her why she came to Earth, why she chose the family she was in, why her sister died, this, why, all those questions. Who am I? Why am I here? They were all answered. So I'm channeling all this stuff. She had some back pain. She was running from healer to healer to healer. So I told her why the back pain. Basically, she was chasing the Hollywood dream, and she was a light worker that was here to use her platform, not only as an actress, but coming from a famous family, to spread this message. That was the message that came. And she did that. She stopped chasing the Hollywood dream, and she was working on some dreadful B-back grade movie in Sydney, which was well below her standard. And she went and she worked for Gaia and many people, and she now has a platform teaching spiritual principles. But at the time I was channeling, the little me who didn't know I could do that was in total argument with what was happening. I'm in my head going, shut up, you can't say this stuff, stop talking, stop talking. Shut up. But my mouth wouldn't shut up. So some force, higher self, higher part of me, took over my mouth and my body to relay a message for her. And when I left, she had no clue I was channeling, because it just looks like me talking to you, right? I don't change personality. I don't change my name. I just talk and wisdom comes out. So she's figured I'm a bit psychic, and she's totally on board with everything I said. Like, she knew when you give psychic messages to people, they know in their heart that's the truth, because they've been given it from their spiritual team or their higher self anyway. So it just confirms what people know outside of the social conditioning.
So when
I left,
because this is something I've noticed with, when someone has an illness or a condition or a problem, it can also be related to not only their current life, but their past life. And I'm wondering, has
Right.
that ever come up when
Oh,
you're
yeah,
doing
heaps.
heaps?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, but the thing about having because all lives are working simultaneous, they're all dovetailing together. I mean, the Seth books explain that quite well. I have to say, when I read them in my 20s, I didn't get it, but now I get it. Like, now I understand. It's all dovetailing. It's all working simultaneously. It's like this one energy that's playing out in different scenarios and in different lives, and it's all dovetailing throughout time and space. And
Right. Well, we're all connected. You know, we touch one another infinitely all the time. And sometimes we can directly communicate with one another. That's what you would call channeling, is you're in communion with another person. And it becomes an obsession because it bypasses your physical mind, and your spiritual self lets it out. And it took me a while to figure that out. Who am I reading? You know, and that's what it is I'm in total communion with something or someone, and I'm repeating what it's saying, and my physical mind has no chance when that happens to me, because I'll just repeat it and say it
exactly.
because they want me to.
Yeah, I knew a contactee who he woke up, had a whole spiritual awakening due to his contact, and he would just suddenly have to read people. He had no choice. He would walk, just boom, he's like telling them all about their lives. Your tire is loose, you better check. Go home. Your wife really, gosh, there was one guy. Yeah. I mean, I could go into that with great detail, but you're muted. How did you
Sorry, I muted myself because I coughed. But yeah, tell us that story. There was one guy. Come on, tell us. Don't leave us hanging.
I may have told this before, but real briefly, he saw this lady on the street. Let me think for a second. Yeah, it was a lady on the street, and he told her, "You have to go home right now. Don't know why. You have to go home." She's like, "Well, I was going to go out and spend the night with my friends." He's like, No. You need to go home and be with your husband." And so she did, and had a wonderful evening with him. And he died in his sleep that night.
Wow.
He didn't know that until like a year or two later, when that lady showed up next to him in line at a grocery store. She's like, "It's you. You're that man. I have to thank you, because you told me to go home." But it just goes to show, when you get a message that you have to relay to people, nothing's going to stop it.
Yeah.
That's
You see
what
that
we're all
with
here
Teresa
for.
Caputo, the Long Island medium. I love her on TV. She just immediately runs up to a person, like, "Well, I talk to spirits. I've got to tell you." It's funny to me.
Yeah, there's a guy that drives a taxi. Have you seen that guy? He drives a taxi.
Yes,
People get
I
in
know
a
who you're
taxi.
talking about.
Have you
Yep,
seen it?
I
And he's
have.
like, "Oh, I've got this message for you," and he freaks the people out in the back.
Oh, I did see that.
But
Yeah.
this whole psychic phenomena, it's so exciting on planet Earth because we're so ignorant to it. Like in other planets, when I talk to other civilizations, it's their default setting. It's their mode of operandi. I mean, everyone knows that they're psychic, and it's like it's no big deal. You know what I mean? It's like
Natural.
breathing. It's so natural to them. And so here on planet Earth, it's kind of exciting for it not to be natural, and for us to play with it and explore it and expand it and like see how it works and get excited about it and be amazed by it. And yeah, it kind of makes Earth really interesting.
Supernatural. It's natural. It's funny, Karen, because as you're talking, I'm thinking, well, gosh, that happened to me. That happened to me. That, because your mom died at age 16. Mine was 19. And she came to me in my dreams too. And I read all the Seth books in my 20s, and I'm like trying to wrap my head around them. So you have a similar life path there. I'm
crazy,
like, wow.
Isn't it? Yeah, I know. Crazy. Well, we're here doing the same thing. We just do it in different ways. We're disclosing, we're enlightening humanity, and getting the message out there. Yeah,
exactly. The path is the path.
Absolutely. The path is the path, isn't it, Dolly? Yeah, absolutely.
I know.
And like you've heard of the 3 waves of volunteers. Have you ever had Susie Hansen? Well, Susie Hansen was you know her, don't you? She is the New Zealand contactee. Yeah. So she was given I've talked about this on many shows, but I know Dolores made it famous, good on you, Dolores. But Susie was actually given it by her Grey family on a ship when she was a kid. They introduced her to the soul of what would become her son. And during that interaction, they gave her this massive download, which was the 3 waves of volunteers. The first being the healers and the psychics and the second being the communicators. So the communicators are people that come on shows and share their experiences. And like, have you ever had Kevin Briggs on your show? You've got to get Kevin on. Have you had Kevin on?
No.
I think
No.
that's the second person who's recommended.
Yeah,
getting in touch
I
with
might have told you. Kevin's amazing. So he only came out of the closet, if you like, about 5 or 6 years ago. He had contact with his Galactic team, which are a council of different, like a tall grey, a short grey, a white, a mantid. He calls one an Anunnaki, and I say, what does an Anunnaki look like? And he says human, but kind of Egyptian. I'm like, oh, okay. So all these people, and then there's 2 Arcturians. Are they Arcturians? Which has been depicted through kind of pop culture as the Palladians, the beautiful blonde sort of humanoid-looking creatures. But I think he says they're Arcturians, which are his main guides, who have been with him all his life, and he's had all these amazing experiences, and he was never going to tell anybody. He's like, he worked as a policeman in the UK and retired with his wife, moved to Florida and dabbled in real estate, and he was never going to tell anybody until his guides came to him and said, like, he's in his late 50s or 60s at the time, okay, time to talk, time to tell people what you know. And he's like, oh no, I don't think so. And they're like, yeah, you're going to write a book and you're going to expose everything and tell the world. And he's like, I don't think so. But yeah, he did it. Dutifully wrote the book all about consciousness and is now out there sharing his story. So he contacted me for the show when he was just getting out there. And I'm like, whoa, you are awesome. And, I sort of put him on a whole lot of other podcast shows, and I mentioned him because he's got such an amazing story. And
Is he still in Florida? Is he still in Florida?
He's still in Florida. Yeah. He and his wife and the dogs. Yep. Mm-hmm. He's in Florida. And he's such a delightful person. He's so real and down to earth.
Yeah.
He's so real and down to earth. Initially, when he shared his story, because he was so nervous, he would have this sort of rote. He'd just say the same thing everywhere. He wouldn't mix it up a bit, but now he sort of mixes it up a bit because he's more comfortable being on camera and talking to people. But he has had the ability. He's been up on the ships and met all the guys and seen the council up there on the ships. And I think he was 9 years old when he was in the bath, and they showed up in the bathroom and talked to him or talked about him actually. And then he was a little bit older and he saw an energy orb, and then he realized which kind of activated him. He had the ability to leave his body at will. And he used to fly around and go to his grandmother's place and hang out in her cupboard and look down at grandma in the kitchen making dinner and just hang out as an energy orb, he calls himself. And then he's like been flying with one of his grey alien friends through the cosmos. He took him on astral adventures through space, and he said, I want my own spaceship. And the guide said, well, make it. He said, well, how do I make it? He said, with your consciousness, just create it with your consciousness. So he made a spaceship and he flies and he went to all these places. Yeah, he's got an amazing story. Yeah. Anyway, get him on the show. Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll definitely look into it. That would be awesome. So
yeah, and if you know his email address, thank you. We would appreciate it.
I will connect you guys. Yeah, love Kevin. But so having the show, and like you, Preston, like investigating people's stories is a way that we wake up to what's possible. What's possible for people. And that was another big one. Here I thought when I started the show that I knew all this stuff because I'd already was, teaching people and healing people and teaching people about deliberate creation, already in contact with my guides and not understood. But then I started the show about 15 years ago on radio, and it's totally addictive. I know, just hearing people's stories is so addictive. I've got a bit more of a mission this year to talk about deliberate creation and how we're the creators of our reality, because the guides have said to me, the galactic mob and the spiritual mob, I call my guides the mob, how important it is for us to get a hold of our thinking. And you said, you're so happy. Why are you so happy? Like when you understand that your vibe creates your life, then you're going to be deliberate about raising your vibe and being happy and being at peace, and because it's all a part of how we create our world. And the Greys have showed me about how they telepathically communicate, which blew my mind at their mental agility. And they told us how sloppy humans are with their thinking, and the way we focus and don't focus. And And so we've got a long way to go and a lot to learn about who we are and our mental capacity and our consciousness.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what they told a lady up in Maine, who I quote frequently, but they told her intention is everything. Intention is real. Thoughts are real.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, you sure get a taste of that if you astral project, because your thoughts will manifest all around you. And you can create a spaceship and fly around in it if you want.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's that easy, but it's just pure thought. Thought is a laser cannon on the other side, and it is here too. It just doesn't manifest.
We're under the buffer of time, because we've got time to play with.
I've seen people do it. I knew a contact who's actually living in Australia now. She could manifest like nobody's business.
Who's that? What's her name?
She won't let me use her name.
Okay, fair enough. That's like Dolly. When I had Preston on my show, Dolly, he was talking about you, and it's like you weren't out of the closet then. I'm so happy that you came out, and now you're doing. Now look at you, you're out here doing the show. Because he was talking about your experience, and I'm quizzing Preston. Who's this person you're talking about? I want to meet her. Who is she? What really amazed me about your story was and you've told it many times, when you were astral projecting and you went to Dolly's place and Dolly was on the phone and she could see you. Like she could see you. And then you heard her say, "Can't talk now. I'm being robbed." And what she actually said was, "I'm talking to Rob."
Yes, you remember. Wow.
Yeah. It shook him so bad he went right back home. And I called him the next day, because I was like, this was just too weird for me. He'd never done that yet, around me. And we were talking, and I didn't bring it up yet because I'm waiting for him to bring it up, because I know not everybody remembers, And I finally couldn't stand it anymore. And I said, you were here last night, right? And he's like, yeah. And he said, "Dolly, what did you say?" And I said, "Preston, I couldn't talk to you. I was on the phone with Rob." I would get people calling me, asking me questions in the middle of the night, and this was one of them. And he said, oh my God, that's real. And then I decided to exclamation point him. I waited a few days, and then I showed up in his home, in his room, and while he was sleeping in the bed, and I just showed up, and he freaked. He was like, I could see you.
And you could see her. I mean, that's amazing that you could see. Yeah. You could see. Yeah.
I saw her. She lit up the room with golden light.
On my show. I just said,
Yeah, I have that ability. I've been psychic from the very beginning. I've knowingly been psychic. I mean, I figured it out really fast. And with that advantage, I've been able to up the game on my abilities throughout my lifetime. And ET honed my abilities as well. They taught me a lot. And I can manifest in front of you, and I can show you light and all kinds of stuff.
She showed me all kinds of stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can remote view you, and what you see of me is a blue orb. Wow. I show up as a blue orb. Yeah, they got that on film. It freaked me out. I used to do CE5s, and I couldn't go to all the meetings because it was in Georgia at that time, and I was still in Florida. And I said, I'm just going to come. Well, the lead guy of the group was still ferreting out my truths, and he had a camera ready. And I get this phone call from him, and he says, Dolly, where are you in the house? And I said, I'm in the living room. And he said, really, where? And it's right in front of the fireplace. I can see you bright as day. And he took my picture. And then I moved across because it freaked me out. I saw this huge flash, and I went across the room, and they caught me moving across the room. And he said, what was I doing earlier at the CE5? And I said, you were laying down by the fire acting like a fool. And he said, oh my God, that's real. And I said, I know. And I said, but you guys can do it. I keep trying to teach people that I'm not the only one. You do it all the time. You just don't know you're doing it, And so we used to practice at CE5.
Yeah.
So whenever you see an orb, just think it might be some person floating around there.
Well, I see orbs all the time. My house is like
that's ET spying on you.
Well,
friends,
sometimes
family.
I kind of know that. Yep. And I see them through my physical eyes, like you guys. I've never seen the room light up with gold like that. And I don't have identity. But one of our members in our groups died recently, and we were channeling her in our Inner Sanctum group. And she said, Karen, I was trying to get your attention. And as a spirit, she was trying to navigate that, how to get humans' attentions. And Sandy, one of the psychics who was channeling her, said, you saw me and said, who is that? But you didn't get who it was. And I'm like, I did. And I rarely ask who they are because I see them all the time, just lights. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a party in my place. So if I was asking who they are, I'd be asking all day, like, who are you? Who are you? I just like, hi guys, hi. I know you're listening. I know you're watching. Hello, g'day. All different colors.
You're a
But I
bona fide
remember with
medium. You
Eris,
realize this, right?
I don't remember what color it was, but there was
Oh.
something strange. Pardon? I'm having internet problems. Am I freezing on you?
A little bit here and there. Oh, and there she goes.
She'll be back. We've had a plethora of really bad, energy coming from the sun, and it's just messing with communications everywhere, and it's worldwide right now. So,
she completely
she'll be back.
All right.
Oh, she's trying again. Hold on. Here we go. I got her.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just saying, just as I popped off, I'm having internet problems. Am I freezing on you? But yeah, I'm back.
All right. Well, now that you're back, I would love to hear about your ET experiences and how that all started, and what it's all been like for you.
Oh, my ET experiences, how it started.
I mean, you had that sighting when you were a kid, right? Have you had other sightings?
Oh, I can see them all the time. I see them all the time. My daughter's a real skeptic about this stuff. And a few years ago, she was house sitting a house in the country and looking after horses and dogs and everything. And I went down and stayed with her. And I said, can we take a blanket and go outside? And she looked at me and she goes, why? Do you want to look for the ETs, Mum? And I said, oh, it'd be nice to just sit under the stars. And she's like, yeah, all right. So we sat under there and looked up. The two of us were looking up at the stars, and there was the brightest flash in the sky. It like came from a pinpoint, and it sort of lit up the whole sky, like just for a second. It wasn't lightning. Mm-hmm. And she just went, what the hell was that? And I go, told ya. But you know what? They still deny it. No, that was I remember my next door neighbor, who was a good Catholic girl, said to me she didn't believe in it. And we went for a walk down near the beach a few years ago. And I said, come on, show us something and we'll make her believe. And so this massive ship came over, but you didn't see it as a ship. You just saw it as one light on one side and one light on the other that sort of moved. It felt like a cigar sack was moving across the sky very slowly. Oh. And I pointed and I said, see, look, there's a big ship over us. We're at Coogee Beach. And she's like, where? I don't see anything. And I said, see that light there? Yep. See that light over there? Yep. That's all part of the ship. And then she goes, no, that's a plane. And I said, have another look. Planes don't look like that. And she looked and she went, what the F is that? And it freaked her out. It like her paradigm shifted in that moment. It was really strange. She kind of became a bit crazy in that moment. I don't know what happened, but
you're right, paradigm shift. It makes your brain go, now I have to rethink this.
Unglued.
It's like having a glitch in your computer, It's like,
she ended up abusing some guy because she saw this dog running around and she was trying to catch the dog, and this guy said, leave my dog alone. And he was rude to her, fair enough. But she started abusing him. And I'm like, oh, something's happened to her, like having this sighting. But most of the time I can go up and call them in and just, see lights in the sky and stuff like that. But I went out to Uluru the year before last, I think it was, thinking out there in the desert, like Uluru's in the center of Australia. Uluru's the big rock, they call it Ayers Rock,
Right, the red rock.
I would be able to see lots of them out there in this beautiful, because I'm in the city here. And, I didn't see anything. I was so disappointed, but there's so many stars out there when you're in the desert. I don't know if it's because there was just so much noise when you look up, so much light from the cosmos. There was a big Milky Way above us. It was absolutely stunning, but I was wanting to see something there. But anyway, I didn't. But when did all this start? Look, I was delving into spirituality, and I was always hanging out with like up in the Byron Bay area, it's like the Shasta area or the Sedona area. There's like lots of star seeds all talking about aliens and talking to aliens. And I was always hanging out. Yeah, I was always hanging out with those sort of people. And we had balls called the Higher Self Ball and talking to aliens. But I was really focused in another way on spirituality. And people were talking about creating grids and anchoring this and anchoring that. And that was not my work. My work was to focus more on how we are the creators of our reality, because that's what I would go on to teach, even though I was exploring everything. But I don't know when it was. I think it was probably 7-8 years ago now. I don't know, time. I kind of woke up and was obsessed with the ET phenomena. Like, I just wanted to talk with everybody that had an experience, put someone on my show. And so a lot of the people that had been on the show, when I started in radio, I'd sort of dumbed it down for a mainstream audience and talked about accentuating the positive, which is why I called it the show Accentuate the Positive. You know, because you want what you want, because you think in the having of it you'll feel good. So if you accentuate the positive, you'll get what you want, and that you'll get the feeling that you're looking for, and then you'll be a vibrational match, and you can attract to you, you know, what it is that you want to create in life. So that's where the conversation was, is still today. But I started just becoming obsessed with the ET phenomena, and then realized that these spiritual teachers that we call angels and masters are really these higher conscious beings from other planets that are overseeing this world. And I was listening to Paul Anthony Wallace. Have you heard about Paul? He is an Australian guy that he has his own channel that talks about, he was a minister, and he talks about the Bible. He sort of woke up to where the Bible comes, and he talks about the ETs being, what did he say? I was listening to him on Kathy Mason's show this morning. Kathy Mason has a show, and he said he's an amazing researcher. Anyway, a non-human layer of the governance of Project Earth is the ET phenomena, you know, realities of geopolitics. Like, we're governed, like a lot of the things that we read in the Bible, Yahweh and all this sort of stuff, they're ETs, you know, like they're ETs. Like I married a guy who was a Hare Krishna years ago, and he was very into the Hare Krishna stuff. And we were both into the whole ET thing, but not as much as I'm into it now. This is like 20 years ago. But, you know, the Hindus and the Krishnas, they have the deities and the gods, and they have elephant head gods and monkey head gods, and Krishna was blue. I mean, if it's not obvious, their god is blue. He has to be some extraterrestrial from another dimension. But they talk about in the Vedas, the planets, the different planets. In the book, Conversation with God, I gave him that book to read. He read that all religion is based in fear. And he thought to himself, yeah, that's true. All religion, but not my religion. Not my religion. My religion, which is...
There are no religions.
It's not based in fear. And then one night we were at the Hare Krishna temple, and they were kind of doing what we do at Christmas time. You know, they're all dressed up and playing out their plays, you know, themes, and playing the sort of stories out of the books and stuff. And he had this epiphany that everything we were doing, we were eating the vegetarian food, we were watching the kids and people. He said it was all based in fear. He made us leave because he had this epiphany. And I went home. I said, why did you make us leave? I was having such fun. He said, all of it, Karen, it's all based in fear. If you don't eat this, if you don't do that, you're going to go to hell. But he said in the Krishna religion, there's not one place called hell. There are different planets of hell.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
And depending on your pride is where you go, which planet you go to. So they clearly talk about planets. And I said, and you didn't think your religion was based in fear? And he said, I didn't get it until tonight. I didn't get it.
Wow.
Yeah, so he had that epiphany. But yeah, so there it is, you know, right there in the Bible about.
I grew up in the Everglades, and there was a Krishna colony out there. Okay, they had high walls, and I was a little monkey, a little girl, 6 years old, and I used to jump up to the top of the walls and sit there where the trees were around me the most. So I thought I was camouflaged, and listen to them chanting and stuff. And one happened to look at me, and he pointed at me to somebody, and I fell backwards. And when I landed on my back, and they heard me hit, and they went running out there, and they're like, are you okay? Are you okay? And they sort of adopted me. Every time I showed up there, they let me in the door, and they started teaching me. Okay. And it freaked me out when they started talking about, you know, what you're saying, the different gods. Some of them are quite frightening, to be honest. Okay. And I thought, wait a minute, I thought there was only one hell, and now there are 10. Okay, 10 hells. And I'm thinking, I can't handle this. And I sort of walked away from them after that. But my dad knew I was doing it. And I said, why did you let me go over there? He says, you have to learn about what's true and what's not. And the only way you're going to do that is if you seek. So you're doing good. Keep going. I said, does that mean I can keep going over there? And he went, no, 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 no. You got the message. Leave it alone now. And I was like, okay. And I just went on to the next thing. That's crazy. I'm going to be right back. I have been mucking out chickens all day, and my back's killing me, and I need a pillow. I'll be right back.
Okay. I know, like,
it's
but
super
Preston,
interesting because you know, I've read this book, Butler's Lives of the Saints, which was all about people who were very religious, but they were able to use that path to reach enlightenment. And I think it works for some people, but I've interviewed so many people who've had contact experiences, and almost always they leave organized religion because it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't fit their worldview. And I've met people who are just wonderfully beautiful people who are very deeply religious and super kind and generous and are getting the good stuff out of it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I agree. I'm just not a huge fan of it because I think it restricts your thinking.
Well, it does to a certain point. Absolutely.
A guy we had on the show previously who asked the ETs flat out, "What's the one true religion?" And they gave him this look like, none of them.
Yeah.
And I was reviewing another case, and the guy asked him, "What is God?" And they said, "Everything. Everything is God. You, me,
what isn't God?
All of it."
Right,
But
exactly.
that was such a beautiful, simple, easy, and true answer, because that's kind of the way I've always looked at it.
Yeah.
We are God. You are God. All of us. The world around us. The universe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The grays, the tall grays, refer to the concept as the all mind. Okay, they don't use
The
the
all
word
mind.
the all mind.
Yeah. The all mind.
And they say it's chatty, and it will talk to you anytime you want to hear it, what it wants to say to you, or ask it a question. And it took me a while to latch on to that idea. And I started trying as a teenager, and it started to work. And I was like, wow, and it's all love. Okay. We've been taught that runs everything. And I learned that. And then I learned that when it comes to creating your reality and stuff like that, it'll give you whatever the heck you ask for if your intention is seriously solid. And it's whether it's good for you or not, you're going to get it. And it's because we're here to experience this. We're here to learn it and to learn from either making the right choices or making the wrong choices. No such thing as mistakes. It's choice, all choice. Okay. And I learned that. It was like an epiphany one day. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is serious stuff, and somebody, I think it was my dad, he said, yeah, the rule is be careful what you ask for because you're going to get it. And I was like, wow. So then I had to learn to guard my thinking after that, and it became a challenge to me, throughout my life.
All right. Well, we have to take a quick break. So just hold on for a second. Not a break so much as just a station ID. I want to let you all know that you are watching The Light Gate. I am your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Saffron. Our guest tonight is KAren Swain, and we've been having this wonderful conversation that's really bouncing all over the place, honestly, about UFOs and spirituality and manifesting your desires and healing and psychic stuff and all kinds of really interesting stuff, some very interesting encounters KAren has had. If you guys have questions, remember, get them in because we will be answering any questions. I've got a few starred already, ready and queued up. But let me read our call signs because we are totally indebted to the people who allow us to air this show each week. I want to thank the United Public Radio Network, where we are airing live on 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana, and also the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM, of course, on YouTube, Facebook, and Roku as well. And yeah, I'm so excited to enjoy this second hour with our amazing guests. Sorry, KAren, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we do need to let our read out the call signs.
Wow, I can't believe an hour has gone past like that. Just so quickly. I feel like we just started. An hour has gone past.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to this station for getting this out to so many people. That is just so cool.
Yeah, and chat is really lighting up. They seem to really be liking the things that we're talking about. I hope so. I hate the way these comments block your face. This is ridiculous.
I will fix it.
That's
When you
all
say-
right.
No, it's on minimal. I don't
Oh,
know.
I know. That's such a Cheryl. That's such a great song. MC Yogi. He is such an he's a rapper. And because I used to run a conscious radio station, because I started this on Sydney radio, and we used to play music, and then when I was podcasting, I was doing my show on a conscious radio station where we played all conscious music, all uplifting, conscious sort of music, a bit like the Christians have their Christian music. Well, we had our conscious music, and MC Yogi is one of my favorites. Yeah, only love is real, only love is real. Yeah, there's so many amazing people out there, musicians, spreading the message of who we are and our connection to our galactic family through music. I had Cameron, what's his last name? Come on, Preston, help me out. Canadian UFO researcher who's now talking about
Grant Cameron.
Grant Cameron on the show, and he put out that the message in the music. He put out that book about how all the musicians were contacted by ETs and inspired to write about.
A lot of
them, like all the big ones, the Doobie Brothers and John, what's his name?
Lennon,
Lennon, but John, the other country music. Anyway, the big ones,
John Denver?
Denver, so many, Led Zeppelin, it was just
Moody Blues, Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato.
Yeah.
Sting.
And the ships, a girlfriend of mine was singing at a women's pool. There's a pool here that's been going for 100 years. And she was singing that song, After the Gold Rush. And I said, that's about ETs. She'd been singing the song. She goes, it is not. I said, read the words. It's funny how you can sing about it and still not be conscious to it. Like the silver ships are coming in the sky to pick up humanity. Mother Nature's got humanity on the run, and talks about, I think, Dolly, this is your story, is in that song about the ETs coming to pick up humanity. And
Kesha has a song like that, which is so good.
Oh yeah. La, la, la. Yeah. My daughter and I love this song. My daughter loves Kesha, and whenever we're together and we're going places, we sing in the car with each other. And Kesha is like one of them, and that song, is
I love it. I don't care what people believe. I know they're coming for me.
Yeah.
It's such a good song.
Right, there you go. Yeah. So they've been pumping the message out there, and I don't know. Humanity's starting to wake up now. Like, we're starting to get the picture. Yeah, we're starting to get the picture. But to go back to your question, Preston, you said, when did it all start for you? I realized that what I have called the mob, which are my guides, my spiritual team.
I was going to ask you, that's an interesting name to call them, Karen.
Well, when I was young, as I said, I called my guidance my common sense. And then I realized I'm talking to a consciousness which is outside of me, my common sense. And so I'm asking, like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? I'm asking for identity, and I'm not getting identity. But they show me this sort of like many. And I'm like, mob. It's a very Australian thing to say. The Aboriginals called the First Nation people of Australia called their family the mob. They use that word, the mob. They call their groups of them the mob. So it's like this big mob. So irreverently, I called my spirit guides my mob. And then I thought, that's a bit of a silly name. I'll have to come up with a better name. And I'd opened and closed a furniture and homeware shop, as I said, and I'd called it Bliss. And so I called my massage business Blissful Beings when I was massaging people, meaning that you're having a blissful experience, but also there's beings of bliss helping you. And then one day when I'm crying out, who are you? Who are you? They said to me, Karen, stop asking. Who do you think the blissful beings are that you talk about? And I'm like, that's you guys. But I'm thinking it's like a combination of the Jesuses and the kind of the Samat Kumaras and the Saint Germains. It's like the ascended masters, right? That
they're all available to all of us.
You just
right. Of course. But and then I realized that these ascended masters are masters because they've mastered the earth plane, but they hang out on different planets, like they're hanging out in different dimensions and in different planets. And what we have called alien or ET are all these guides talking to us. And so then I started asking different questions. Who are you? What do you teach? What are you talking about? And I remember on one of your shows, you mentioned an experience that I had when we had the Australian fires back in the beginning of 2020, and we were watching images of the animals being burnt, and I was in the shower one day really upset about that, and I was given this experience of leaving my body, but I'm still in my body because I've still got the water running and I can feel the water running on my body, but I'm now out in space and I'm looking at a ship and I'm just going, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And the way I'm looking at it, it's slanted, but I'm looking underneath the ship and I'm seeing the intricacy of the ship. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And I'm going, oh my God, that is the most beautiful thing. The next thing, I'm in the ship, right? I'm still in the shower, still feel the water running on my body, but I'm now in the ship and I'm seeing greys and all these animals. And they said, don't worry about the extinction of your animals. We've got copies of them all here. We've picked up some. We're looking after them. And they just gave me this reassurance that although many would die, they wouldn't be extinct, because we're all worried about the extinction of like our marsupials, because they're Australia is the only place on earth where these animals live. And that's another story. I can tell you why. But and so I had relayed that. Then I heard you on your show relaying my story. I'm like, he's talking about my story.
It impressed me. It really did, because I've heard this from other people, and there are many accounts of where people have actually seen this happening physically.
Yeah.
Animals being picked up of all kinds. Dolly talks about it in the book Symmetry, about seeing them. Animal husbandry centers. Artie Six-Killer Clark, a researcher who I respect, because she just tells it like it is. So many researchers out there are shoe fitting and cherry picking, I call it, pushing their own theory. When she just tells it like it is, and she has a bunch of accounts of that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we don't have to worry about humans going extinct or any animal on this planet, because that's why some people call them the gardeners or the watchers, or all different names.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm so glad people are waking up to the fact that ET contact shouldn't be a scary thing.
Nah, in the shower, washing the dishes. But, the experience I had that morning, wherever it was when I was in the shower, was not like I was having an out-of-body experience, because at no time did I feel out of my body, but yet I was out of my body. So it was really confusing to me. Like, what the hell happened to me just
That
then?
is still astral projection, Karen.
It is. But what they said to me, this is how
in the extreme.
They said to me, you connected to an aspect of you that is viewing it, that's already out of your body. Do you know what I mean? Like, rather than projecting my consciousness to remote view, you projected to an aspect of you that's already out of your body. So the spirit aspect of me, because I didn't have a form, I didn't see a body, I didn't see a form, but I was witnessing.
Well, you're living in source right now, right? You know that you are is in source, and you're projecting out into this body to be here.
Yeah.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that you're not aware in source as well. Your consciousness is absolutely aware in two places at once. It can go anywhere it wants. So you're probably projecting out from source to look at it that way. So
exactly. So I was witnessing, what was going on. Like, I was just as curious out of my body as I am in my body about, why are the animals okay? And so when I asked the mob, my guides, have I been on other planets? I had lives on other planets. They kind of laugh at me when I ask questions like this, or they laugh at us as the human race when we have questions like this. And they laughed and they said, oh my God, Karen, do you think you're any less curious as a soul than you are as a human? They said, you've been everywhere, man. And I'm like, yeah, I can imagine. I've been everywhere, man.
Yeah, well, we are all immortal beings, eternal. Because people sometimes ask me, well, how old are you? I'm like, well, you know what? I'm infinite.
Yeah, exactly.
And so are you. We are all infinite beings.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So I really believe that everyone that's here on this planet has first had experience in what we call extraterrestrial realms or planets or lives, because this, coming down into this level of density and having the illusion of the disconnection to your source or your soul or your higher self or your guidance, it takes some skill. And so you have to sort of practice in other physical realms that are easier than this one before you come here. So in saying that, it's not like if there was a new soul. It's not like a new soul comes here because it's such a difficult place to navigate. Yeah. So we've all got ET life. We're all having ET lives. We're all having spirit. We're all spirit and physical simultaneously. We're human and non-human simultaneously. It's all going on. It's so great. What does that say? In that case, I'm 25 again. Yeah, me too. Hello. Yeah, just looking at the comments. Yeah, me too. And age is something, because I'm aging. Age is something I've been talking to the guides a lot about. And I've been talking to them about it for years, actually, because I've been aging for years. But they said to me, age is more about your collective understanding than anything else. And I was saying this to a girlfriend the other day at lunch. It's so funny. And then we were talking about her father, and I said, "How old's your father?" And she said 87. And I went straight back into my collective conditioning and went, wow, that's so old. Like, that's such a great age. I know. And I just noticed the trap of the collective conditioning of age grip me, and people say, oh, they're in their 90s, and we go straight into, oh, that's so old. And I often think about the Star Nation people who live for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. I mean, imagine if you lived for 500 years. How old would 80 be? It'd be like a teenager.
I don't even think about it. You know how they determine, how they mark that? It's wisdom. And wisdom is attainable, and that's the goal. Okay, for them, always the goal. The reason that we're here is that this is the hardest place to learn wisdom, because you're being bombarded constantly away from it instead of attaining it. And they're like, they don't have a government like we have. They have consensus. Whitley Strieber, I love what he said. He called it communion. That's exactly what it is. It's consensus and communion. And they go to the wisest of them, who don't tell anybody what to do, but they say, this is what this situation is. This is how we understand it. And their wisdom is automatically believed, because they know they have it. There's no, you can't hear a lie, because they don't speak lies. It's all the truth. And here we sometimes entertain fools when we're not entertaining the wise. And that's where we should learn to point ourselves and go, it's not your age, it's your wisdom factor. And you could be 50 years old and be one of the wisest of the wise. You could be 150 and going, I'm just here because I'm having fun. That's it, And you have to learn to hear or see that demarcation of what's going on with your soul, your consciousness.
Sometimes little kids say incredibly wise things. And we're tiny. It's the funniest thing to hear it.
Yeah,
did you just hear that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, you could be 20 years old and be one of the wise of the wise. Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
can I pop up a couple of questions just for fun?
Yeah. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Let's see. What do we got here? Okay. I guess may as well just start at the beginning. This one, why do you need a spaceship if you can OBE?
Yeah. That's a great question. You want to answer that? Because you know how to create
there are, the way that it's going on in our dimension, there are 12 dimensions, and there are other beings in other dimensions above us, and they're very old, very wise, and they've lost their corporeal bodies. They no longer have them. We're in the third dimension, which is very, as you would call, dense. We're gravity heavy here, and we can't see that we're pure light, because our protons are so close together you can't see through them, and we appear solid. When I go and dimensionally travel, I have to jump through very fast, because to spend any time in a dimension outside this one, my molecules all want to start to loosen up, and I lose cohesiveness to myself, my physical self. And that's a little worrisome when it happens to me. And all humans are like this in this dimension. We have to go through very fast. We're transported quickly. But the ones in the fifth dimension cannot come here without some sort of a body to hold them in. So fifth dimension, all ETs use craft that come from the fifth dimension. They're biological, and they're indwelled by these beings so that they can come in with us here and work with us.
Yeah, it's a way to physically interact with people.
Right. Now, those ETs that have been in this dimension with us attained enough knowledge and wisdom that they noticed them and they started contacting with them, and they brought them into their groups and decided to teach them more and give them an opportunity to travel clean across the universe at will. And that's how that all got started. This happened billions of years ago, just so you know. And they've been working with us constantly on this planet. We're all, their children, actually. You know, we're all part of them. We're all part of each other. If you have DNA, you're related to them. All DNA throughout the entire universe is relatable. I mean, even bananas, you're more of a banana than you are a monkey. No kidding. And just how you look, okay, what you choose to be. And that's how they get here. They come in through an assisted.
But they can also come astrally, as we all can.
That's the point. Yeah, they can visit with us. They can talk to you. They can commune with you. They can have a relationship with you. Most human beings don't realize that they're being visited astrally as well. Because, like you know, Karen, we astral project every single day of our lives. We physically might be conscious of it, but oh yes, we're doing it. I mean, what do we expect ourselves to do indwelling this body while the mind is asleep? What are we going to do? Nothing. No, we get up and have a good time.
And when you're astral projecting, sometimes you do actually create a vehicle. This is how I started to notice I was astral projecting, because I would create a car or a plane or a vehicle to just sort of explain why I'm moving around through space. Your brain kind of builds that. And I think sometimes people might be experiencing that and thinking they're in a spaceship when maybe not, or vice versa, because these ships are piloted psychically. And you can be in a ship and you're flying it around, you're thinking it's an OBE. It's not necessarily. So there's a bleed through there that's really interesting. All right, well, let's go to the next. Some of these are comments rather than questions.
I want to share a story with something that that you said about the matrix of this world. I had an experience. I read a book years ago by, I think it was his pen name, Peter Richelieu, about a man that was contacted. His brother had died in the war. He was living in India, and a sort of an Indian man with a turban came to his house and said, I want to take you to see your brother. And he said, I'm holding the telegram of my brother that's just died. He said, I'll come back tonight and I'll show you. So he came back tonight, took him with his astral form to all these different levels of existence. And he met his brother who had been killed and said, how are you? And tell me how you died. And he went to like the Davic realms and saw the nature realms. And anyway, long story short, I so wanted to do that. I want to do this. I want to do this. And for the longest time, because I wanted it too much, it was not happening. I couldn't have any memory of my astral projections at night. And then I did. And I ended up hanging out with Shirley MacLaine, who said to me, I'm one of your teachers. And I said, are you? And she said, oh, God, Karen, was it any coincidence? Mine were the first books you ever picked up. And I went, oh. So I'm hanging out with her and we're chatting. And then there was a whole lot of people. We're sitting at a table. And there seems like there's an earthquake. And I remember grabbing the table and looking up and saying, what's happening? I found myself back in my bedroom, not inside my body, not outside my body, but simultaneously both. And I could see the matrix of this world. Everything was translucent and transparent. So I saw my daughter waking up in the room, next to me and coming to wake up my physical body, realizing that the consciousness of my physical body had called me back because my daughter was about to wake me up. But I sort of looked up and out through the walls. I could see everything.
That is so cool.
It was such a cool experience.
Awakening. That's total conscious awakening. You're now. Because everything, I don't see what you see. I see beyond it. And it gets confusing for me sometimes. I've been known to walk into things because I don't perceive them being solid. And then I hit it and I'm like, ugh.
Right. Wow. But nothing was solid from that perspective.
No, not
and
at
then
all.
my daughter comes into the room, Mom, get up. But it's so funny. I can't explain what was happening. I did not look down on my body. Like I've never hovered above my body like you, Preston, and looked down and seen my body asleep in the bed. I haven't had that experience yet, but I knew I was in and out of my body simultaneously. And then I made a decision that I needed to get up. And then I felt myself behind my eyes. Like I'm still having this experience, but I now feel myself behind my eyes. Do you know what I mean? And then my daughter gives up. Mom's not going to wake up. And she walks down the hallway. And I think to myself, I better get up and make her breakfast. And at that point, I'm now awake. But that I only had that experience once. Like they gave me that, but they gave it to me once. Like, why not more? But no, they just gave it to me once.
Sometimes all you need is just to know, because we all have a mission, you know, and we
Right.
don't want to get distracted too much by things.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, questions.
All right. Well, some are just comments. And Mortal Clown is saying, going to book with Karen. Yeah, for those who don't know, check out her website. You can book a session with Karen. She's got all kinds of interesting stuff that you can participate in.
Yeah.
And so let's get rid of that
Oh,
one.
I got to tell you something. Guess who's in my friends list? Shirley
Nice to see a fellow
McLean.
Aussie. Oh,
Shirley
yeah, she's
my
a friend of
friends
mine
list.
on one of my Facebook pages
Yeah,
too.
well,
but
I
she's
send
not
her
really
our
active.
show 15 minutes before the show. I send her the link. So
Oh,
she very well
nice.
may be watching you tonight.
Hey, Shirley. Hey, Shirley. Well, I've met her in spirit. I've never met her physically. And
Well,
I
see,
probably
now
should,
you
but I
might
haven't.
you might just. You never know.
Probably part of the same soul
Unlikely.
group.
Unlike part of the same soul group. Yeah, unlikely her being, a bit older and in the States and me being in Australia. But nice to see a fellow Aussie on the show. Hey, Angie.
You saw that. All right. Well, here is another. I'm just going to pop this comment up because someone guessed. The lady in Australia, yeah, is the pseudonym Wendy. She's a major contactee. All right. So I'm just going to put that one out. And okay, Dolly, don't freak out on this question because I know how you feel about portals.
Yeah.
But John P. Adventures is asking, Dolly, is it true there's a portal behind the sun?
No. No.
Portals are misused.
Yeah, it's there are misinformation people out there who are working daily for 50 years now to make you think of things one way to keep you in control, okay? And to stop you from going toward your natural talents and understanding. And portals is one of them. Our planet is a magnetic ball of fire. There's fire stoking in the middle. It's mostly iron. There's nickel and all kinds of other things, but it's mostly iron. And it creates a magnetic field that emanates out of our planet in what you could saw, you see a vortex in the water, like it spirals. Well, these are vortexes that go like this and like this. And one polar, the positive polar side goes up and the negative polars go down from north to south poles on our planet. There are anomalies associated with that kind of electromagnetic energy revolving around us. You have to understand that our sun is way bigger than us, has even a bigger corona of electromagnetic energy and poles, north, south, same as us, and it is in union with us. It sends charges to us, we absorb them, and they go back to the sun. And what people are witnessing, literally, is that people have disappeared in a discharge where they just go in broad daylight, they're just gone, or they'll catch fire in their sleep or whatever, and they don't know what's happening. It is a discharge from our planet reacting to what hit the earth earlier that day or the day before. And people say, oh, it's a portal, it's a portal. No, it's an energy emission. And we live in the middle of that. You're an electric being also. We have our own magnetic fields as well, because you have a beating heart, you're generating electricity throughout your body. You have a north pole and a south pole, and you're doing the same thing, and you're feeling it. Okay, and people don't know how to tell the difference because they're being denied their psychic ability and what that is. Now, there's another thing going on at the same time. Ascended masters. These are people who have mastered the ability to use their psychic abilities to the nth degree. In other words, they know all of it and they can use it at any time. And you're witnessing them do it. And there are lots of people on this planet, whether you realize it or not, who are in the process of becoming ascended masters.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Awakening, and
All
you're
of us, I
seeing them
think.
perform these abilities. They can disappear, or they can change the light that they are. They can walk into the light a certain way. They change the energy in their body, and they literally look like they're disappearing. We also have nodes on our planet, and this is what we call electromagnetic nodes all over the planet. And they're in a geometric pattern, these nodes. ET uses these nodes to fly here. The energy is so sufficiently intense, streaking for them, that they come down. Their craft uses electromagnetic repulse and magneton gravity.
Well, they're not flying through portals.
They surf them. So there's no portal. They're not coming in. How ET travels throughout the universe is another story. They use light gates. That's why I wanted to call this show the Light Gate. I'm trying to make points to people. They know how to psychically open a dimensional door. And when they do it, you see, when you're awake and looking up at one, you see nothing but pure light coming in. It's like an opening, and then you see light spilling out of it
I've
downward.
seen that once. I had one experience
Okay.
with that. Yeah.
That is a light gate. And they can only open it for a certain amount of time because they've got to get through really fast. If there's a bunch of them going through, they might create one really big light gate, and the last one through shuts it down. And they it's like Einstein saying we're folding space. When you leave this dimension, you're folding because there's no space-time anymore. There's no conventional nothing. You can psychically coordinate to another part of the universe in less than 2 seconds. Boom. And that's how they travel. They're not going through a portal. They're light gating.
Well, we could do a whole show on this. But, so
That's what that is. Okay.
This is fascinating. I mean, to me, a light gate sounds like a portal, then I'm not very versed in what a portal is.
It's just the terminology, I think, that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the governments are doing. They get you to use this terminology and you don't know what you're talking. In other words, one of the things that's hard for us to learn is how to use our psychic ability. And that's because we're polluted with the wrong ideas. Okay.
Well,
And
exactly.
it's really
Social conditioning, I call it.
Right. And that conditioning is hindering you from making contact with your consciousness. That's the first part of being psychic. Maintaining that connection between your consciousness and your physical mind. You have a pineal gland, and that's where the connection is. And it's like your telephone call to yourself from your physical mind.
There are things you can do, which brings us to the next comment.
Okay.
That I want to pop up from Robo 1776, who says, I've OBE'd, but I see it more than flying around. Face your fears and move out of body. Staying stuck, going through the walls is kids stuff. And I totally agree, because exploring the world is fun, but the real fun is on the higher planes. And to me, Karen, this brings up the question, how important is moving past fear to manifest your reality and move towards your life path?
Well, it's everything. It's everything important. I mean, the thing is that I once heard a spiritual teacher say, look, I tried the law of attraction and it didn't work for me, so I figured it didn't work. And I laughed at that, because I thought to myself, that's like saying, well, I tried gravity and it didn't work for me, so I don't think about, like, law of attraction's happening all the time. It's like we are acclimating to frequency all the time with everything we're thinking. So when we're in a vibrational stance, then we're acclimating to that sort of frequency, and we're attracting to us timelines and experiences that are a vibrational match to that. So the thing about planet Earth is that it affords us this experience of fear. And when you understand that fear is an experience you can't have with your dead, and how eager you are to come into this realm, it's like going to the fun park and wanting to go on the Big Dipper, to be terrified out of your mind, because that's an experience you want to have. You want your stomach up in your mouth and vomit everywhere, or into the House of Horrors. Like I see this world as this big fun part that affords us this experience of having this huge variety of frequency that we can play with. But if you're asking for a better life, or for health, or to stay younger, or to manifest like your spiritual or psychic abilities, then fear is a frequency that is too dense, or it just gets in the way from that happening. So then we have to look at why we're afraid and what we're afraid of, and then look deep within our subconscious and see the beliefs that we're holding in our subconscious programming that's keeping us looping, like one of my guests called it, emotionally looping in these fear-based paradigms, or these fear-based realities or ideas, and then get out of them. Change your mind, change your life, change your beliefs, change your life. And so when you change your paradigm, like, your life changes, because everything is, you're experiencing based on what you believe. Yeah. And fear is, it's like we marinate in fear in this third dimension.
It's one of the worst habits we have. It's the most destructive habit we own.
I lived in fear for a while after my mom passed away, and I just got tired of it, and I was able to release it. And it's a paralyzing force. Fear is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You must face your fears if you want to evolve. You absolutely just need to move beyond them. I like what someone said in there. Fear is an illusion. I totally agree. It's all in your mind.
Right.
Yeah, everything. I was listening to someone talk the other day who had a near-death experience, and he was asking all these questions like, why does this happen? Why does fear happen? Why does that happen? Why does this happen? And every answer was a distortion in your thinking, a distortion in your thinking, a distortion in your thinking. Like that was the answer to every question he had. Because, our thinking creates our reality. And so the distortion is the distortion away from the pure positive energy of who you are. It's like you can call God or source pure positive energy. And so any energy vibration that acclimates with positive energy, as we've understood positivity, happiness, whatever you feel is positive, bliss, excitement, then you're more connected, or you're acclimating with your source. And then that's giving you the powers that you're taking back your power to be anything you want to be, really. Anything you want to be.
I like to tell people who are very, very swamped by it. I say, look, okay, you can look at this very simply. You have a habit and you need to break this habit. How do you do that? By going cold turkey. How do I do that? Because this is the most important part of the whole equation. How? You stop watching negative stuff. Stop listening to negative things. You stop speaking negative things. You seek positive things. You choose love. You choose to be empowered yourself over it. You're not helpless against this. You are powerful against it. And once you start to habitually do this every day, and your thinking will eventually fall in line with that, you're rewriting the programming of your physical mind. You will get there. And it's one day at a time, like a real, person who's addicted to anything. And you just keep going until you wake up one day and you go, "Woo, I'm in control of this,"
Yeah.
And then you see that, and the cool thing about this is once you do that, your psychic ability starts to get a chance to get at you. It's knocking on the door. Hey, listen, yoo-hoo. You start to hear things. You start to see things. Things come to you that never did before in your life. And you start to find gratitude and attitude and love and all kinds of things. But it's work. We have to work at this. And a lot of people have been taught to be lazy-minded, and they don't accept the fact they just want to be given the ability, and you cannot. You have to work for it. That's the point.
Meditation is key.
You know that story I told you about massaging the Hollywood movie star and having the channeling experience? Well, after that experience, I had a headache for 3 days. And I was asking, I remember we're going off to my acupuncturist and telling him what had happened and having acupuncture to try and help. But I spoke to my mob about it. It's like, what's going on? And they said, well, you're not a vibrational match to the energy that you summoned that day. And that was because I was holding all these beliefs that I'm not good enough, all these conditioned beliefs of failure, nobody loves me, poor me, all that sort of stuff and because I came from a very dysfunctional family. So I took on all the beliefs that, my parents had and their generation. And then, so I started doing personal growth workshops to clean up my negative thinking. And that involves, I saw one of the comments, a lot of forgiveness. I remember I was in my 30s. I was divorced. I was thinking I'm going to attract the man of my dreams. I did this personal growth workshop, and I realized all the people I'm not talking to, I'm pissed off with in my life, are all men, like my brother, my ex-husband, and who was the other person? My father, right? They were all men. And I'm like thinking, I'm going to attract this man that's going to love me. But the men that are in my life, I hate. And so I realized that I had to just let all that go. It doesn't matter what they did to you. It just doesn't matter. Like you designed it, you designed your life, and the contrast that you experienced, like the beatings from my father and the yelling and the fighting and the stuff. So I rang these, on the spot, I rang these 3 men and I asked for their forgiveness. It doesn't matter if I feel like they did me wrong. I asked for their forgiveness because I just let all that stuff go. And I had 3 totally different responses. My little brother, who's not really little, but a couple of months younger than me, 20 months younger, he's just like, oh, poor Breaks, I love you so much. I've missed you so much. My ex-husband's like, okay, right, yep, good, yep, okay, didn't know how to handle it. And then my father didn't take any responsibility. It's like, yep. He was the one that had beaten me up and put me in hospital as a kid and all this sort of stuff. And he was the one that took no responsibility. But you don't do this for the other person. You do it to let go of the fears that you're holding in yourself and the programming and stuff. And that was so releasing. And you know, I had to forgive my ex-husband so many times because he wasn't paying maintenance and all that sort of story that we come. And I remember one day reading Abraham Hicks or listening, and she was talking about abundance, and I was a struggling healer, single mother, trying to carve out a life as a healer and struggling financially. And she was saying, or Abraham was saying through Esther, the vortex of abundance is you. You are your vortex of abundance. It doesn't come from the other. It doesn't come from your boss or life or society. You are the vortex through which abundance flows to you. And with that, I took that on board, and I thought, I have to let my ex-husband off the hook. I have to stop demanding that he pays me maintenance and takes responsibility and all that stuff that, you know, it's like that old saying, it's like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So he came over one day and I said, you're off the hook. If you want to contemplate your navel for the rest of your life and not take any responsibility for the raising or financial raising of our daughter, that's, you know, that's your choice. You're off the hook. I am the vortex through which my abundance flows. He's like, what? You know, just quoting Abraham.
Wow.
Okay, good. No, I promise I'll get you some money. I promise. Like that was his thing. Like he was always making promises he didn't keep at that point. And I remember he walked out of the house, and honestly, Dolly and Preston, I felt like I was levitating. Like I felt so light.
Yeah,
I felt so light. It was like I was levitating. It was like I was floating through the house, just letting go of that burden and that story. Anyway, I've got lots of stories.
And that's how you physically levitate, actually. You start to let go and move beyond all of that.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, I have more questions, and we only have like less than 20 minutes.
Yes.
I'll go so quickly with you guys. I thought 2 hours.
Okay, I'm just going to pop this up real quick. David is asking, do you guys have Buy Me a Coffee? No, I'm looking into it. That's a donation thing. We want to get merch too. People have been asking me.
Yeah, you know, Preston draws.
No, we don't have that yet.
And I want to do with all those cartoons on them. That would be so cool, you know. But yeah.
All right. Now,
yeah, absolutely. Merch. You got to get the merch.
Yeah. CT Guitar Guy has asked this question: if the All Mind is everything, what created the All Mind? Does each universe have an All Mind, or is there simply one for all universes?
Wow.
There's one
you know
universe.
What? I'm going to be honest with you. I have no clue. I have asked that question a million times. I have to be at a certain level of wisdom, and I can't be here when I ask the question to get the answer. It is locked off from us here, and I can only imagine. So you're in the same boat with the rest of us. Okay.
All right. Here's a question for you, Karen, from Lunar Dove. She's asking, Karen, can you explain the difference between accessing the soul and the higher self? Is there a difference between these? Do you have any clarity to that?
Yeah, there kind of is. Like the higher self is often called, like there are different higher selves too. There's different, oh God, this is a long question. But, you know, I sort of correct everybody. It says my name wrong. And one of the reasons is the Egyptians called the soul the Ka body. And they said that it is the part of us that incarnates into different physical worlds. And I guess it's not really your astral body, because and Dolly, you might be able to explain this better, each vehicle that we drive in these worlds has an astral form or has an etheric form, which is a kind of energetic copy of that physical body that you're wearing. But the soul is the part of you that is incarnating into different worlds. So we talk about souls as separate. Like when we talk about walk-ins, we talk about another soul walks in, but it's actually an aspect of your higher self or your oversoul. That's another word, that is the oversoul. And because in those realms that everything is one, and we are in separation consciousness, and we see things as separate, like we see each other as separate, but really we're all one. It's hard to sort of explain that, but the higher self is like your oversoul. So the higher self is the combination of all those little soul aspects living out different lives in different timelines. Like you could be in parallel realities, you could be in history, you could be, you know, running from the dinosaurs and in the 1800s, and you could be in the 3000s. It's like there's parts of you throughout time and space, and we're living these lives simultaneously outside of time, space, reality. And then there is an oversoul that's overseeing all that. And that's what we've called the higher self. And then those aspects of us we've called our soul. The guides have actually given me this incredible image of how all this works, because I've asked all these questions.
One of the things that I learned, I want to give you a little bit of information. One of the things that I learned, it's not just from ET teaching me this. This is from higher beings, fifth dimensional beings, one in particular. And what it is that when you come out of source to come here, your consciousness, it's got to come here. It has to have something to come to. And this is your astral body, okay? Ka or prana, it's an energy that is attached to you. You command it. You can leave it here to reincarnate, or you can take it back and go somewhere else. But it is a part of you. It's an astral body. And it is part of how you are born here. It's the first, how do I put this? It's the knock on the door to the mother you choose, okay? And you indwell with her. This part of you indwells with her during conception. And then your soul at the moment of conception comes in. Your consciousness comes in to indwell. And you're the spark. Your consciousness is the actual electrical spark that starts the cellular division in the heart to start, okay? It's the electrical component. In source, we have the ability, because we're not here and we're totally conscious there. In other words, there's no division in time for us. So you're consciously aware of every single time and everything you've ever done all at one time.
Yeah.
Okay. And you
Crazy.
can experience that once you learn to get into it. Okay. Once you wake up to it. And people try to give it names, and it's you're all yourself at one time, experiencing over and over and over, because every memory you have has an experience attached to it, emotion, a feeling, a smell, a taste, a touch. And that's all the aspects of your personality, your consciousness, who you are, that you can experience simultaneously all at the same time in this universe, okay? We also have an ability to do something. When I talk about the all mind does not make us walk alone. We walk with the all mind. We are part of the all mind. We are inseparable from it. Okay.
An extension.
Exactly.
An extension.
And sometimes the all mind will take upon itself to be with you at all times. In other words, you can be on this planet and suddenly something dramatic happens to you and you come away with it spiritually changed, because the all mind is with you and it's helping you walk through this. You're not alone ever. Okay. And you experience that. It's pure love is what it is. And you go, whoa, that's totally cool. So we have the aspect of three. We have prana or ka. Okay. That's the astral body. We have our consciousness. This is who we are, spiritual body. And then we're in the body of the all mind. Three things. Jesus was an ascended master, and he was trying to teach this to everybody, but the idiots who were writing him and repeating him didn't put it out right,
Right, yeah.
It's the aspect of three. It's the perfect symmetry, let's go into that word, of creation, of who we are. We are eternal. We had no beginning and we had no end, just like the all mind, okay? We're part of the all mind. I don't know the answer to how that happened, but I know it exists. That's how I was taught. So
Yeah. Beautiful, Dolly. Perfect. Yeah, there's some great questions.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all these questions, but I suppose if we keep our answers short, we can certainly try. But I'm going to still go in order, even though I see this really lovely question about 5 questions down. I want to skip to it, but that wouldn't be fair. Deleted Truth is asking, what's that white light people go into after death? That's source. That's all of us.
Actually, yes.
Right? I mean, that's
pure white light. Yep. You're going into source. You're going home. That's right.
Okay. That's a short answer.
And you can use white light. I use white light a lot. Like I can, put white light in my body, because the white light is like the color white contains all the colors. So it's interesting. I see the orbs everywhere. Like there's a party in my house. Often I see a white one and like a really bright white one, and I'll know that that's like a really higher being. Mostly they're this sort of turquoisey blue. And sometimes they kind of hover, and sometimes they spark, and sometimes they're more indigo blue, and sometimes gold. I've seen gold ones. Yeah, but the white light contains the all. Yeah, the all.
All right. I'm going to pop up some comments from David, which are not really questions, but they're interesting. He says, when I pass into the next realm, I'm going to ask why my guides effed me over. My guides are rubbish.
Oh,
I'm I'm a descending master.
That's hilarious.
I can turn it around, I think. Yes, you
Yeah.
can. Of course you can. This is what we're talking about. This is why you should book a session with Karen. She can help you.
We're all descending masters. You know, like this information that Dolly's sprouting that we're all talking about here, we all have access. We all know this when we're not physically incarnated. Like we're all masterful at this stuff, and we come into Earth experience to experience the contrast, to forget that we're to forget and have that experience, to have the experience of fear and separation and all that stuff. Like we come here, but when you wake up to knowing that you created it, like you're creating this because you wanted to experience it, then you stop pushing against it and you stop saying, no, I don't want this. And you start saying, I made this, I created this. And you start enjoying your creation because you created your ego, you created your personality, you created the illusion of separation, you created the fear that you're holding, like all of it that's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And you, the higher aspect of you, the divine aspect of you, the I don't know, some people call it Holy Spirit, some people call it higher self, whatever you want to call that part, was the creator of this experience. Like you designed it to have this experience, and you don't need to die to remember that. Like so many NDEs, like people that die, they remember, oh my God. Like as I said, one of our members died recently in December, and from spirit, she had a dreadful life. She was sick and she was homeless and she had no money. And she was always in poverty and sickness and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so from spirit, she's like, yeah, that was so much fun. I can't wait to get back. She just had such love and appreciation for all that she went through, like all the drama. She was disowned by her family and her daughter, and you know, like she went through the gamut of drama that we can experience here on. She was in jail, she was imprisoned, and you know, they threw her out of hospital because she's one of these, you know, like, oh, don't give me that bloody stuff. And you know, she's sort of, they're like the crazy conspiracy theorist, and they threw her out of hospital and threw her on the street. She was thrown out of her trailer park. She was sick one day saying, I can't get off the floor. And I said, she's in America, I'm in Australia. Is there no one that can come? So she's feeling like there's no one on earth that can come and help her. She's exhausted all her resources. And I'm thinking, so helpless from Australia. How can I go and help her? She can't get off the floor. She's on a phone. And I said, we can ask the angels to send someone. So we did. And a young girl who lived in the trailer park came and rescued her. But where is it that you're in your life and you can't get up off the floor and you feel like there's no one there for you? I mean, that's a pretty sad place to be. So from source, from spirit, she's like, that was so much fun. What a roller coaster ride. Like, what a ride. She's so appreciative of everything.
Well, we learn so much here that you can't learn elsewhere.
Right.
That's just the plain truth of it.
Yeah, we get to wear it as like armor, you know. We do take everything we learn with us. That's the one thing you can take, is whatever wisdom you gain, it goes. With part of you.
All right. I'm gonna skip to this question because we're almost out of time.
Oh, I know.
So I really want to ask this question because it's a good one. Question for Karen: how can I connect to the guides to receive guidance for myself? From Fun Talks TV.
Well, what I want to say to Fun Talks is you're already connected. And all you have to do is stop saying, how can I connect, and know that you are connected. Just keep saying, I'm connected. I receive guidance all the time, and look for it. Look out for it, because everyone is connected. None of us are not connected. That's the conditioning that we're under. You have to be special. You have to be different. You have to do a course. You have to pay someone to do, like, all this stuff. Like, we're all connected. And the first point of guidance is our emotional guidance system. So when we're feeling bad, we're feeling the frequency or the vibration of the thought we're having at the time. So what does it feel like to feel alone and not connected and not guided? It doesn't feel good, right? So your emotions are telling you that you're thinking a thought that's not in alignment with the source of who you are, with who you are as infinite creative potential. And you're also thinking a thought that's not in alignment with what you say you want. So you say that you want connection. I want connection, and I want guidance from my guides. Like, what did the other guy said? I'm the descending master. He said, my guides let me down, right? If you believe your guides aren't there for you, you're going to experience that.
Yeah.
Right? So that your thoughts create your reality, in that if you have a belief about something, that's all you can experience. So when you say I'm not connected, then you're going to have the experience of not being connected. But everyone is connected, that we can't not be. I mean, it says in one of the books, I think Conversation of God, one of those books that, or maybe Abraham says, you know, you can't say I want something. To say I want says that I lack it. So when you put this I want into the universe, you're actually saying I don't have it. So rather than saying
wanting,
you get the experience wanting. I want to be thinner or fitter or richer or, you know, happier. So you create the experience of wanting instead of the experience of having. So when you start to say I have, even if that's not what your current reality is, but you start moving into that experience of knowing that you have it, look for experiences where you do have that. Like, I'm happy. Where were you happy? Oh, when I read that meme on Instagram yesterday, I was happy for that minute. You know what I mean? Patch Adams, which is another amazing being on the planet, had this man come to his clinic. He had a free hospital and said, I'm depressed all the time. And so Patch Adams handcuffed him to himself, and he went through his day. And every time this man had an experience of not being depressed, Patch Adams pointed out, you're not depressed now. You're not depressed. Like, we convince ourselves of our problems. Like, I'm depressed all the time. No, there are parts in your day when you're, so what you focus on.
You don't want to say you can't, you can.
You can, exactly. And so as far as talking to your guides, start to focus, start to notice what you notice. Start to notice times where you do feel that guidance. Like, I felt guided in that moment. I rang that person. I said that thing. I felt guided in that moment. And so as I say, our emotions guide us, because when you're feeling bad, that is guidance telling you that you're thinking in a way that's not in alignment with what you say you're asking for, what you want. So when you deliberately move, I know 2 minutes, deliberately move into a better, like, have a thought that feels better, and then have another thought that feels better than that, you shift your vibration and you take your power back. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we are in our last 2 minutes, so we're going to have to close the show, but do everyone check out the book, Awakened by Death. You can contact Karen through the links in the description.
And she has a wonderful YouTube link, well, a private link too, where she has workshops and things that you can join into.
It's all there in the links. These are testimonials from some of the people she's worked with. So she's really quite effective in her work. And if you have, well, we're actually out of time, aren't we?
Yes.
I want to thank you guys. You guys are doing an awesome job. You are amazing. And thank you to everybody that's been watching and listening and writing questions. It's just been the most awesome experience. Honestly, it went so quickly. Big love to all of you. Big love. Namaste.
Stay online with us for a minute. I'm hanging up. This was the Light Gate. We love you very much. We are 107.7 from New Orleans at the United Public Radio Network. We're at UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are Roku, YouTube, and Facebook. We love y'all. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Monday. Love.
Bye.
Bye.